Alright class, this is a great test type question. We're going to try and solve this. Equation. 2 sine squared minus sine minus 1 equals 0. Okay, you've solved a problem like this before in Algebra 2. Okay, 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, what you did was you factored 2x, x, 1, 1, and then you figured out where the minus sign and the plus sign were, and then you solved for this and this. This side is easier. This just means that x equals 1. This side means that x equals negative 1/2, and hopefully you remember a little bit of that. So these would be your two answers. This would be the two times the two x values you could put in up here in this equation to make this equation true. Let's put in 1, for instance, just because it's easy. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1 equals 0. So yes, 1 is an answer, and you can do the same thing for 1/2, but our problem is this one up here. So what we're going to do is factor this to start it off. So 2 sine of x, 1, 1, and then how do we get a negative sign in there? We'd have to put a negative here and a plus here. Right? Because if I FOIL this out, this would be 1 sine x, this would be negative 2 sine, subtract them, and I get negative sine x up above. Okay, so now we have this magical thing in math, which means that a times b equals 0. Okay, and there's only three different ways that this can occur. A could equal 0, or b could equal 0, or they both could be 0. But at least one of them has to be 0. Okay, so if we solve this, if we go further, this means that either 2 sine of x plus 1 equals 0, or, I'll go down here, sine of x minus 1 equals 0. This one's a little bit easier to figure out. I just need to add 1 to both sides. If I do that, I get sine of x equals 1. And in the directions, and I forgot to write this down up on top, but in the directions, it says we don't want all of the infinite answers. We just want to know when this happens between 0 and 2 pi. And I think they put, a block here and then a parentheses on that side. Yes. This means that we are going to include 0 if it happens to be an answer, but we will not include 360 if it happens to be an answer. But we do want every time this equation is true between 0 and 2 pi or 360. Alright, that's just some terminology. Basically, how we need to solve this is look on our sheet. When is this true between 0 and 360? On the first note sheet I gave you. So what angle makes this sign equal 1? Well, that angle is 90 degrees. It's the only time it occurs between 0 and 360. So this is one of our answers. Okay, let's see if we can find any more answers. We'll use this equation here. First thing we'll do is subtract 1. So we get 2 sine of x equals negative 1. Next we will divide by 2. We get sine of x equals negative 1/2. Again, now we look on our sheet. At what angle do we get a sine value of negative 1/2 between 0 and 360, including 0 but not including 360? So it happens at 210 and it happens at 330. So we get two answers for this part of the equation and one answer for this part of the equation. But these would be our three answers. So if I put in, and what this means is if I put in 90 degrees into this, and I had my calculator in degrees, I put 2 times sine of 90 degrees squared minus sine of 90 degrees minus 1, it would equal 0. If I put in 210 to this angle, here and here, it would equal 0. And then the last value is 330. If I put that in for this angle and this angle, it would equal 0. Okay, so this problem in particular, you have a real good chance of seeing on your test.